Got you a gift.
No, I'm not doing this. We decided no puppets.
I got you a gift. Welcome to Unorganized Thought, where there's some renovations kind of going on in our area right now.
Yeah, we're working on some stuff right now that will hopefully help out us in the future. Not only just in personal life stuff, but some things for the channel should hopefully help us out.
But it's a long process. So if we're a little bit hit and miss with our schedule
Dropping
of videos.
But with that said, this I think is coming out on Saturday, as most of the time podcasts do, our podcast at least. And then the other thing is that we will probably be putting out a lot of videos next week, due to the fact that Comic-Con is going to be going on, and we're going to be wanting to cover that topically. I've got my whiteboard over, you can't see, but I'm going to be writing like a madman of like what things we're going to be covering.
Kieran's conspiracy web.
It's going to be nuts. But so if you like our stuff, you could probably expect a lot more shorter videos next week. Yeah.
Cool.
But with that, we're going to talk about a couple things. The Apex story just wrapped up yesterday for us recording this. There was a Star Wars announcement.
There was a Star Wars kind of info
leak thing. This week I had some ideas of some sort of kind of conspiracy in my brain of where Star Wars could go next, and then we thought we'd just kind of wrap it up with some final thoughts before Comic-Con. Get out some things that we wanted to say just in case one of those things happens to happen, and then you can always come back and say, heard it here.
Rest in peace, buddy. You ferved it here burst. So before we get into it, if you would consider subscribing to our channel, we would be eternally grateful. Give this video a like if you stick around and like
share it around.
Yep. Yeah. And converse with us. We like
talking to everyone. And because of that, shout out to Kev's Collectibles, a new subscriber. We got to talk to him a bit on the last Star Wars video, and so we like to give back, kind of not give back, but like shout out our people when we recognize new people in the community.
All right, take it away, Kieran.
Well, we just know we also know that we cover a lot of topics on the channel, and we touch a bunch of different communities, and so this will kind of be like an ultimate podcast. And so since I know that we have different viewers and stuff, this week I'm going to try and put some timestamps in the description. So if you're here for Apex, you'll be able to find that. If you're here only for the Star Wars stuff, you should be able to find that. Or you just want to know our final thoughts, wherever, it'll be more obvious for me to know what to put there at the end. But so this week you could probably look in the description, see where you're navigating to in the podcast this week. But we're going to start off with the Apex stuff. And so what did you think of the resolution, Aiden?
I thought that it was pretty cool.
It's so if you watch our stuff, it wasn't a giant reveal that it was Ash to us. We didn't actually know at the time of our last Apex video, we didn't actually know Ash's name. But if you go back, you'll say that we were talking about the female simulacrum from Titanfall. We didn't know her name, but since then we've learned about it, and we just put a name to the face that we knew.
Now that's an accurate Actar Bros prediction right there.
That was an accurate prediction. Do we have inaccurate predictions?
I don't think we have any accurate predictions.
You heard it
so
here.
far.
100% accurate all the time. Nothing we've ever said is incorrect, including this podcast. 100% fact. Interesting bit you're doing there. Anyways, so yeah, the Broken Ghost storyline finished. There was no like super crazy reveals. We learned that we're probably going to be going to Olympus for the next season 6, as the new map, probably.
Now here, both of us are in a bit of a weird position as far as speculating with this goes, because while we could do our research, we don't really want to until after we've played Titanfall 2, which we haven't.
No.
So we don't really know Ash's whole story.
No.
We don't really know it, like if Olympus, if Ash saying "Welcome to Olympus" or whatever she says, something about Olympus, is this big, reveal. We don't really know what happened on Olympus. We don't really know it, So if that is some big reveal, we just don't know yet, because we are, like, we'll play Titanfall 2, we're planning to, and then we'll get back to it and know a little bit more about the lore here.
Again, if you watch our stuff, you'll know that we're very big into the lore, and that's one of our biggest pulls with this whole Titanfall Apex universe.
However, we haven't actually played the installments.
But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. We kind of knew for a while where it was going. We didn't cover last week's reveal, which was that Caustic told Revenant about it all to protect, at least in his mind, protect Watson
from Crypto's romance distraction.
Yeah, which is kind of weird now that we learned that Crypto's older than Mirage.
I ship it.
Anyways, do you have anything else to say about it? I don't really think that I've got a ton to say about Apex this week.
I have a few things to say.
Okay.
There were some things. Kieran and I went on a light Easter egg jog, you might say. We walked around the area that you could in the
Slum Lakes area.
The Slum Lakes area, where you're supposed to just go down the hatch and find Ash. We walked around in the buildings. We're not sure if anything was added. There were these they looked like fuel terminals that said like I think 13
on them. Yeah, we didn't
them.
actually get a chance to go back into the game. Slum Lakes isn't a place that we frequent, so we're not super familiar with it.
Yeah, and so there were kind of just these, technological coils and what looked like sort of a fuel station.
There was also those, there were some shipping crates.
There were shipping crates that said, what did they say? It says on my phone. I want to say it because I want it to be, like, I want to prove that
I feel like, wasn't it like Hercules, but like with the W or something?
It was like, damn.
Whatever. If you are a fan of this kind of stuff, the lore, the Easter eggs, maybe go through that area, especially if you know that area more than we do. I think we're planning to go through it again in the normal game, and then probably in the lore level, and just kind of see if there's discrepancies. Do kind of a spot the difference map.
Oh, I'm so upset that I'm not remembering that name. I should have printed it off, because I can't stop my phone from recording now.
We'll put the name in the description. That's what's on you'll be able to see down there. That's what's on the things. Or
maybe we'll
just
put it right here.
Yeah.
There, that's what it says.
That's what it says.
Also, Ash says a bunch of crazy random nonsense.
And I was wondering if that's just maybe dialogue they already had from Titanfall. Or maybe it's new.
Yeah, she says a couple strings of these 5-digit, 5-digit just strings of numbers.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if anyone in our very tiny community knows of a code that is strings of 5-digit.
Yeah. Again,
numbers.
we didn't spend too much time on this yet. We would like to. I like doing code stuff like that, and so we definitely are going to look into it. We just it was quite recent that we did all that stuff, so
yeah,
we just haven't had too much of a chance.
Most of the other dialogue are just kind of throwaway lines, and then the last thing I kind of want to touch on is that the creators have dabbled in the idea of the Apex universe actually being a parallel dimension to the Titanfall one, and as we know, this head of Ashes was in Revenant's dimension.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that correlates to the Ash that is seen in Titanfall 2. If her head was banished to this other dark realm, why Revenant shattered it and buried it in several different places. So I was just I wonder if this is going to be the same Ash that you see in Titanfall 2 at all, thought. If it'll have the same memories. The Ash body that we find is missing its head, so I think it's possible that this Ash is at least from the Apex dimension. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking that Ash is going to be the next playable character, but it's still a bit unclear.
Yeah, it's a bit unclear.
It looks like our next arena is going to be Olympus, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get a new
which is nice.
map.
Which is nice.
Yeah, we were getting a bit sick of the...
Kings Canyon and World's Edge are getting a bit stale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
anyways, those are just some ideas to sort of stew on. And
if you know something that we missed, let us know, because we'd love to hear it. We're very curious about what's going on with all this.
Mm-hmm.
Anything? I think that's it for Titanfall.
Yeah.
Titanfall Apex, and so it's kind of a bunch of mini podcasts this week.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna go into the Star Wars announcement that came out this week. Announcement, again, we say very loosely. It was a report that Disney Plus, what's the word? Trademarked or like they claimed. I can't think of the word. I can't think of the word. But they're going ahead with a project, it would seem, and it's kind of one that it's a bit out of left field. I'll be honest. If you sat me down last week and asked me where I think they're going with Star Wars next, I would probably be able to give you or not even where they're going, but tell me that they're making a new show and ask me to list off a bunch of things, I would have been able to. This would never have come up.
Yeah.
I'll be fully honest. And even if then you sat me down and gave me the narrow thing of they're doing a show that's branching off from Clone Wars, I still would never have guessed this.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what Kieran did. He sat me down and was like, hey, try and guess what this is. It answers some of your questions that you had as far as Clone Wars is, and I guessed I guessed all the things that
that you would be interested in.
That should have been covered. Bounty hunters, Ventress, other clones.
Yeah.
But instead,
Gregor and Wolf.
I assume that we're gonna get that.
Yeah.
With
that's true.
The Bad Batch, which is our next series that we're getting. And so I was a little bit disappointed to hear that, because it just seems like
and
Star Wars is just making all the wrong decisions.
Yeah, they just keep getting to these crossroads, it seems, almost, and just always choosing not quite the right way. Other than Mando right now, there's just very few things that excite me about Star Wars. And we don't want to lose a bunch of people here by saying these things, because we know that there's obviously there was people that like the Bad Batch run, and we don't want to seem like we're pessimistic to everything that is Star Wars right now. As much as it really feels like that sometimes, we are excited when they announce those new things, and we want Star Wars to be good, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Is as much as we keep getting disappointed in things, we want it to do good. We want Star Wars to succeed, because we are very big fans of it. But the thing is, they keep giving us the Bad Batch.
As it were.
And so we're sorry if the Bad Batch was your favorite thing, but just like we talked about this on our Clone Wars episode, where
it wasn't what we needed.
Season 7 was just 4 episodes. That was the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah, everything before that was just this pointless.
It was
nonsense.
Unnecessary.
And the Bad Batch especially was bringing in a group of very generic, unoriginal.
Yeah.
Like it's just the classic trope of, oh, here's the team. It's got the big guy. He lifts things up.
This is the guy that lifts things.
This is the guy who's a super good shot. And then there's a smart guy. And then there's the Rambo guy.
And now the newest addition, the guy that's basically R2-D2.
Yeah, like who
with a meat body.
I guess
it's just a very classic formula, It's a team we've seen before.
Yeah, and it's just there's nothing particularly interesting about them. They hate regular clones, and they're not particularly like they don't have a good heart. They just do whatever they're told.
Yeah,
I don't see any of those I don't care about any of those characters.
That's the thing.
None of them have any personality that I care about, except Echo, who should have stayed dead.
Yeah.
Because now I see that this was all some crazy plot to get more money with a Bad Batch series by bringing Echo back. He's the only draw to that thing.
He's the only character that anyone
I
knows
was so
in that
mad
series.
about the Bad Batch arc because they resurrected Echo
For
for
no
no
reason.
reason, and we
And
just
now
had to
we see. Now we see the reason.
yeah, and introduced this Bad Batch, and we just had to assume that they all went and died.
Well,
but
and
now I see that it was just this weird seed pilot.
You know what it seems like to me almost is that they got to season 7 and they're like, oh man, I really miss the Domino Squad. What if we could do that again? But these guys are even more special. And then just bring back Echo. He exploded more than anyone except maybe Heavy, but bring him back. You know?
It's just it's not what I personally would like.
Would have, yeah.
Like if Filoni's
again,
on it, like
we're
I guess,
not saying that we think it will be bad. We don't like. I just don't really have that high of hopes for it.
And
honestly.
I wish, like I never liked the Bad Batch personally, and it makes me even more upset now that they wasted 4 episodes of what should have been tying up loose ends in the Clone Wars to set up this next series.
Yeah, what is that called?
I don't care about. A seed pilot.
A seed pilot that just, yeah, I'm not super fond of that. I saw a funny meme that was talking about how D. Bradley Baker, he's gonna be reining in the checks because he's every voice.
Yeah.
That cast has one guy. I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about it. Like, and so how exactly did they escape Order 66? And I'm sure these will be answered in the show, but it's just like.
And I guess I
don't know.
assume that they now will answer how Gregor and Wolf Greg. I'm Clone Commander Greg. I assume that this will answer how Wolf and Gregor, escaped Order 66, but that's just yet another thing that I was kind of upset about with season 7. That
like, why didn't you just answer that in season 7?
Yeah, instead of giving us the
me
Bad Batch.
And like the thing for me is just, as soon as the Bad Batch arc was over, I never thought about the Bad Batch again. It just, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where.
The only reason I thought about the Bad Batch was to think about why.
Why?
Why did you give me the Bad Batch when you could have given me something else?
It makes me curious because I know, I said this to Aiden when we saw it, is that any excuse Disney/Star Wars needs to make this series is just, oh, look how good Clone Wars Season 7 did. Look at these numbers. Of course people want to see the Bad Batch. When in reality, it's like, you clickbaited us into watching the Bad Batch. Like,
that's true.
I didn't go into Season 7 of Clone Wars wanting the Bad Batch. I wanted the Siege of Mandalore, which you gave me for the last 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to get on board with this one. And like, especially when Star Wars has great group dynamics. You look at Rogue One. Rogue One is one of the most, like, fan favorite movies.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like a lot of people like that movie.
Huh.
Like, it's in the list. Like, I don't think people are like, I'll take Rogue One over Empire, but a lot of people like it. It's very a lot of people that aren't necessarily in the Star Wars community like that one. It's a lot more ground level. It's a contained story. People can understand it.
Do you want to know why?
Why is that?
Borgullet.
Borgullet is the reason, and that's the only reason anyone should ever like Rogue One. No, Rogue One's great. But
Borgullet is great.
Borgullet is the most important part of it. Borgullet is the key to everything. If only Star Wars could figure that out. But we've got these great group dynamics in the universe, but for some reason they give us the Bad Batch. I feel like we're ragging on it a bit, and we're sorry again if the Bad Batch is your favorite thing.
But if the Bad Batch is your favorite thing,
I don't want to offend anyone. Like, I just the Bad Batch was I guess you could make the argument that it was the second best arc of season 7, but then again, it was the second worst, and only because of the Martez sisters, which is like the worst thing since Jar Jar Binks. Like, I would argue that they're worse.
I like Jar Jar Binks.
You heard it here.
I'm being very
Controversial today.
controversial today.
But like, yeah, I'm not sure. We keep just kind of walking in circles here. That we're just not sure what's going on with that. Like, yeah, so many things you could do. Why are you doing the Bad Batch?
Why are you doing the Bad
And
Batch?
I also I've had this question. We'll try and get away from just complaining about the Bad Batch, but I'm gonna transition into complaining about the Bad Batch because I've never understood their deal, because they're like, oh, these are the deformed guys that are better than all the other clones. So why not just make all the other clones like that?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
You're genetically cloning guys, so you clearly have this mastered.
Yeah.
So once a guy messes up and you're like, holy crap, that's way better than what we did over here, just do that again.
You messed up and made a guy who can't miss. And so why wouldn't you just make all the clones guys who can't miss?
Like, clearly you have that gene now, because I guess Jango Fett didn't have that in the first place, but now it broke and now this guy does.
So
now
just clone that guy.
Like, I don't understand. Like, it's very confusing to me. Like, just take all the Bad Batch, put them in a blender, and then clone that.
Yeah.
You know? Now we got a really big, smart, never missing strong guy that has robot hand
and a
can
knife
open things and a knife. Like, I don't know. And the other thing about it is that how many guys are in the Bad Batch? 5? I don't know. They're like
smart guy, shoot guy, Team Fortress guy, Rambo guy, and now Echo.
See, but smart guy, shoot guy, Rambo guy are all the same in my brain.
Yeah, and also Echo can't do anything that smart guy can't do without a screwdriver.
Exactly.
You know? Like, there's no point. Echo isn't, like, one of the elite special clones. Like,
I know.
I mean, like, he's a good shot. He's obviously a very good soldier.
Yes,
but
Echo's
he's also,
great,
like,
but
very atrophied and, like...
That guy needs to
one of his hands is a
retire.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to go and sit down at Thanos' shack and just kind of garden for the rest of his life, you know?
And it would have been so good for Rex's arc, and I'm sorry to say, oh, this would have been better. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm just saying what I personally would have liked to see is Echo die, and that's what sets Rex kind of over the edge. But as Echo is dying, since he was plugged into the Separatist mainframe, he goes, Rex, I know about the chips. You gotta find 5s or whatever, you know? Yeah. Like Rex ended up saying, but like say that, and then he goes, does the research, cuts it out, because he did betray his Jedi.
Yeah, I know, and I really don't like that. To me, it seemed very important, because why else bring back someone from the Domino Squad if not to finally tip Rex off
and
to Order 66?
Close the arc.
That was where ultimately the Domino Squad's arc went. You know,
5's the last one.
And 5's was the last one,
and
he did figure it out, and he was trying to tell Rex, and then those other guys shot him.
And so to have Echo solve it for 5's and tell Rex, and have Rex, you know, finally get it and figure it out before it happened. I feel like that would have made the Domino Squad worth so much more.
Yes.
You know?
Think about that, how cool that would have been, of like the metaphor of it, of like dominoes, where it tips and tips and tips till the giant thing, which was finally Rex figuring it out.
Yeah.
Think about that. How cool is that?
You heard it here,
you can't tell me that's
folks.
Not cool. I also don't understand how they're gonna explain away their what's the word that they are?
Their control chips?
No.
Mutants?
Yeah, the mutants. They're deformed mutants, so their control chips just don't work.
The Kaminoans
wouldn't let that slide. Come on. We're
like,
smarter than this.
No clone would go into the field and have their chip not be active. Like, maybe since Echo was, you know, like, frozen for a while, and the Techno Union probably, you know, didn't know too much about the big plot. Maybe his got malfunctioned. Maybe Echo will now figure it out,
and so maybe
save them like he should have saved Rex.
Yeah, that I could be okay.
Like, I guess I can get behind that, but like, if they try and spin it that, oh, they were mutated and so their control chips don't work, no,
I don't believe
especially
that.
This group of elite clones.
And the other thing is just, I don't want to be too harsh on it. But the thing is,
I do.
When it was coming out, people were praising it, and I saw lists where people were like, the Bad Batch arc is the best arc in all of Clone Wars. It's the greatest thing ever. And I feel like people were not, I don't know. They weren't
People
really
were very excited.
They were very excited, and they were
about
letting
Clone Wars
that
Season 7.
kind of cloud their judgment because it wasn't that special.
It's relatively generic, if I do say so myself. If you love it, you love it.
Yeah,
I'll let you love it.
I'll never try and take away from somebody that likes it. I didn't personally get the appeal of it. If you want to explain to us in the comments why it was so good, please do so.
Especially the last episode.
But like, to me, it was just classic generic team, and now we're just combining the classic generic team formula with the now we're protecting the village of the locals, and they're gonna help us fight these guys.
And like,
and if the Bad Batch was so good, why couldn't they have fought the army of separatists by themselves? Why do we need these weird Avatar people?
Yeah, and like, especially kind of the last two episodes, they set out to find Echo. They find Echo. Then the last episode, they go, oh, we need someone to hack the mainframe. They take Echo. Echo hacks the mainframe, and they do it. You know, like.
Yeah.
What was kind of the point? Like,
okay, here's kind of a theory about that. Is maybe because I was just wondering. I was about to say, they also had the entire run of those guys. Rex and them were butting heads the entire time. And so why did we do that? And so then the only thing I can think of is, what if the Bad Batch now Rex is part of that? You know, maybe he finds them because he's like, I need help. Because at the end of Clone Wars, it kind of seemed implied to me that Rex and Ahsoka went separate ways. And so maybe that's where Rex is going. He's like, I can get these guys out. You know, I'll save Echo.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, and that could be a saving thing. But then what that means is all of them die before Rebels.
Or leave.
But why would they do that?
I don't know why they wouldn't stay together.
Exactly. So they all die before Rebels if Rex joins them. And if they're alive, why wouldn't they be with Rex anyways?
And why wouldn't Rex be able to call them?
Yeah, it's... I'm not
why
really
weren't
sure.
they at Endor? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of sketchy. And so
we should probably get off this.
Yeah, we'll be done talking about the Bad Batch, but we're skeptical about it, to say the least.
Yeah. Not what we wanted for an animated Star Wars show going forward.
An animated Star Wars show, you say?
Oh?
Is that a segue I hear in the distance?
Is that Paul Blart Mall Cop?
There he is! Anyways, so we'll kind of now get into my conspiracy theory. Because I've been doing a lot of thinking about it. I've been reading the Thrawn trilogy, which is, if you don't know, it's expanded universe. It's very acclaimed by fans as being the sequel to the original trilogy. And so I've been reading those. I have some things to say about that, but I'll save that for another podcast. I think we'll do kind of a whole thing on that. But so I'll kind of just get into my conspiracy theory here. Is that it's been kind of rumored, and I don't know if it's been said officially, but rumored at least, that Filoni has some things in the works. We've seen a couple different things. We see around Mando, we see all these different. It seems like every other week we hear that, oh, this person's gonna be in Mando season 2, or this person. You know, on the last Star Wars podcast we did, you saw that where Aiden's like, they're talking about Mara Jade being in there, and then you see that Ahsoka and Rex are gonna be there, and all this. You know, and so in my mind, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how there seemed to be this announcement that Filoni was working on an animated series that was Luke's New Jedi Order. Mm-hmm. There was a rumor that Filoni's been working on a sequel to Rebels. And so I was just kind of thinking about all this information, and then to me it kind of clicked, and I had this thought. And I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but I'm saying this is something that could happen. Is that when looking at all these pieces, I kind of had the idea that what if all of these things were one and the same? Filoni continuing Luke's story and also doing a sequel to Rebels. Who is someone in Rebels that could be considered continuing is Thrawn. And Thrawn is the main villain in the Thrawn trilogy, as you might be able to guess. And so I kind of took that and I was thinking, clearly Filoni's a fan of the expanded universe. Clearly he's a fan of that trilogy if he was willing to bring Thrawn into Rebels. And so I was thinking, well, what if that's where we're going next? What if Filoni's intention is to do that trilogy? Basically, not the trilogy necessarily, but through series and all these things, basically tell that story. And I think that's a great idea because reading these books, to me they're not perfect. They're good. I like them a lot.
I think that you could say that they're dated.
But they're very dated. I think that's the best way to put it. They're very dated. They were written in the 90s, so this is before any prequels, and you really learn how much knowledge was released with the prequels, you know? People discredit them, oh, they're corny, blah, 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 dialogue, whatever. But they gave so much information about Star Wars that we just take for granted now. Is like, reading the books, they don't know the word Sith. They just call everyone a Dark Jedi. Oh, the Emperor Vader, Dark Jedi. This guy, this, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's dated. And so, like, and just certain things we now know about the Force or characters and these kinds of things. And so I think that story with Filoni's touch would be incredible. I think that would be so good. And I've been saying this for a while now, is that the way to continue and start to get some of your fans back is to go back and continue the story of the original three. Yeah. Do some Luke Skywalker stuff. Do his Jedi Order. And when it comes down to it, the only way you can truly do that is in animated form. Yeah. And so I think that that's a great idea. And the other thing is, kind of my broader conspiracy still, is that all of the Thrawn trilogy takes place 5 years after the Battle of Endor, which we know also what's taking place then is Mando. And so to me it seems that Star Wars is going to be curving in that direction. This is the period of time that we're going to be working in. And so it would also explain, if you heard a Mara Jade rumor, then that would be like, oh, well, now that makes sense. Because if she's going to be in these shows, there we go. And so to me that seems like, I don't know, does that seem crazy to you? I think that's perfectly...
I don't think that seems crazy, especially something that you added when you were telling this to me is that at the end of Mandalorian season 2...
Yeah, and so this is where I was going next, is that I was thinking, what if now, where this is kind of leading, is by the time the Thrawn series is wrapping up, Mando was also making his way to Luke Skywalker, who's now making his new Jedi Order.
Yeah, because...
You know? And everything seems to be like that would be perfect, and it'll just coincide with each other, you know?
Because the Mandalorian is supposed to find his own kind.
Mm-hmm.
As in Jedi.
Wizards.
As in Jedi. Mm-hmm. And who's a guy who, at that exact time period, would be starting up a school for the enemy sorcerers. You know? And so... that sort of could carry over into that, you know, and a sequel to Rebels has been rumored for a long time, and now this Luke's Jedi Order, I think you've got a recipe for something good moving forward. Yeah, as long as Dave Filoni is.
Yes, as long as Filoni is involved with this, I will be happy to consume it.
Because, you know, like, with the Martez sisters, I don't know what happened, dude. Get it together. Yeah, but with the Bad Batch, I understand how that may have been some, you know, corporate manipulation in a sense. It looks like a story that he wanted to tell. There was concept art for that before it came out. But, you know, the way it wrapped up, it was clearly leading somewhere. Yeah. And it seems like... And we didn't get that at the end. And so that seems like it was a bit of a cheap shot and may have been Disney going... all right, make sure this one ends here so that we can make more money out of it later, you know? But the last 4 episodes, you know, well, there were some decisions that were questionable that, again, are just things, loose threads that you can then use later, I'm sure, you know, which may have been, corporate manipulations being like, oh, make sure that this is left unsaid so that we can make more money out of that later, and that still there are some
Okay, here
decisions
on the
questioning, but
optimistic side of it.
all I'm saying is that I still trust Filoni
Yeah.
for the most part.
He's not perfect.
He's
but
not perfect.
You can't
but
blame him for that.
He cares about Star Wars. He knows about Star Wars, and I think that he's got the knowledge and the kind of attitude that I want.
Yeah.
Heading into
Going into that.
Star Wars.
On the optimistic side of things is hopefully what these breadcrumbs are, as Aiden thinks are maybe the corporate manipulation. Maybe they're bread clumps. Because what I was going to say is, especially with my conspiracy of that area working around the same time as Mando, is I think, and I've thought this for a while, again I've said this, is that I think that Star Wars is going to be looking a lot more to work itself more like Marvel, to build more of a universe and have things going on so that they can one day have a giant event again, even though, like, I don't know, like to work up to something, to have multiple stories going on at the same time.
Yeah, and that idea sounds really cool to me, like through your conspiracy, that it ties together so closely between two vastly different platforms.
Well, and it when you look at it in that scope, it makes sense. Yeah. It makes perfect sense.
And it's interesting how we've always kind of looked at Star Wars as, somewhat disconnected across its different platforms. Like Clone Wars, since it looks so different, it's kind of easy to write that out of the movies if you've never seen it. It's easy to write it in though. It always has kind of seemed like any expanded stuff is sort of sprinkled on top and works or doesn't.
And I feel like the animated stuff has always just been great for just kind of context and additional reading.
And it's especially nice when it ties together, but there's nothing in the movies necessarily that confirm them.
Exactly, you're not missing anything.
But that I think that it would be cool if there was. I love when things connect.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be super cool.
And I do think that's where they're going.
A live action Rex. I think that would be awesome.
I don't doubt that that's where they're going. Is where, because they talked about this again over on the Marvel side of things, where the TV shows on Disney Plus are going to be interchangeable with the movies that are coming out. And I think that Star Wars is going to be moving in that same direction. Where you'll see Mando maybe just show up in a movie. I'm hesitant on that just because of I don't want them to just throw things around carelessly. Done properly, I think that would be great. And like, how cool would it be to have an animated series running and then to have Luke Skywalker show up in Mando?
Yeah.
Like, how crazy would that be, where we're seeing Luke's New Jedi Order animated over here, and then Mando takes him there, and we see that in live action?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to wrap your mind around, but that would just be so crazy.
Yeah, and it would be so cool. And there's always sort of been this hesitancy,
to cross over animated and live action. I think it would be so awesome to just blur those lines and have them crossing over back and forth.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's my conspiracy. If you think if you think there's anything behind it, let us know, because I really wanted to get that out, especially before Comic-Con, because if for whatever reason I somehow got a transmission from Dave Filoni into my mind, and that's exactly what they announced, I wanted that to be out there, so that you can come back here again, like we were saying before, and you can come back and be like, wow, those guys nailed it, or you can be like, wow, that's a great idea. I
wish that they did that.
And so I hope that this is kind of something that can maybe get wider spread, if you like that theory, spread it around, but just always come back to where it started. But and so I hope you like my conspiracy theory. That's it. Let me know what you think of it. Basically, if you have any additional points, or you think of something that helps fit it in and improves it even, let me know for sure. Or if you have any holes in it, let me know that as well. And so I think the last thing we had was just kind of that Comic-Con is coming up next week. we just kind of wanted to reiterate a couple things, I think. Did you have anything throughout this that you thought of that you wanted to say?
I think my only thing really is that, I'm just kind of excited to see what's new for all of these.
Especially because there's been such a drought on both sides of Star Wars and Marvel and everything else,
and
too.
It's an extra drought because of the virus and everything, everything.
Well, it was a drought before the virus,
and so it's just this super drought.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see some trailers. I want trailers.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely going to get a Mando Season 2 trailer. I think on the Marvel side, we're getting a Eternals trailer. I would say that almost cool. 100%. I think we can expect trailers from the TV shows, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
And on the other side,
those things.
It makes me kind of sad. It's bittersweet. Trailers are always bittersweet because they get you so excited.
But then you have to wait.
Then you have to wait, right? Yeah. And when we were supposed to have had Black Widow by now, it's kind of disappointing that we're only going to get a trailer for Eternals that's going to come out even after that.
And I don't know, have I said my theory about that on the podcast? That I'm sure in my mind that they would have released the Eternals trailer with Black Widow. And that to me tells me that we're absolutely going to get that trailer.
I think that what I'm hoping for is something really special. Because people know what people have been going through, and even on a way smaller scale, just people being deprived for content, And so I think that just in regards to that, in things being canceled and shows being canceled and fans being just hungry for something, I really hope they give us, even more than we're expecting.
Yeah. This was something that I was going to say, I actually forgot until now, is that on the Disney Plus app, you can go type in things like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki even. You can type those things into your search engine and it will bring up the thing where you would watch it.
Yeah.
And it has a button that says play trailer. And so that to me tells me that we are going to be getting the trailers for those very soon.
Yeah.
And so also with that is just that I agree that, because of the drought, the other thing is that, I think they're going to do some crazy things because of that. And character reveals, I think, is going to be a big one because it's easy. They don't have to do anything. They bring up John Krasinski on the Zoom call and say, this is Mr. Fantastic now. It's super easy. It builds hype. Like, think about all the hype that was built from them just saying that Mahershala is going to be Blade. So easy for them, and I think that that's something they're going to lean into. I think that we can see that. I think Kev's Collectibles actually added that to our last podcast of saying that they're probably going to bring out someone like Rosario Dawson saying, this is Ahsoka Tano in live action.
Just to see them,
and I think that's a very great idea. That's the kind of thing that we'll probably see on Star Wars' side too. However, to me, Star Wars can't get away with that as much as Marvel. Marvel is going to show some stuff, and I hope they announce some new content, new movies, new TV shows. And I think that they will to some degree, but I think that they can get by with the character reveals a little bit more because they'll have trailers and things. Star Wars, however, this is what led me to have my conspiracy, just trying to think of what the heck is coming next from them because it's so empty. Literally anything could come.
Yeah.
And so
that's exciting, but also scary.
It's scary, and so the thing is,
if the Bad Batch is what we're getting,
they can't just get away with just saying, "This is Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano." That'll be great, and I'll be happy if they do that. But they also have to give us what's coming next as far as content. These are the shows that are coming. These are the movies that are coming. This is the direction that we're going. Because right now, it's just nothing. And if what they come out and say is we're shelving Star Wars for a bit, other than Mando and a couple animated series, I wouldn't be upset about that. Because build the hype, come back in a couple years, try again. Because, again, whatever you may say about the sequel trilogy, you loved it, you hated it, the fact that it divided the fans so much was a failure. Whether you consider the movies themselves a success, the fact that they divided the fans so
much
so harshly was a failure in itself. And so they have to see that and say, we need to reevaluate what we're doing.
That's a good way of putting it.
If they were to shelf it, I would understand, But it comes back to something we said before. It's Disney. They're not going to do that. And so since that's the case, I want them to announce what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's it. You know, if you have anything else that you think might happen, you want to get it out there before Comic-Con, let us know in the comments. If we think of anything else, we'll probably post it on our Instagram.
Yeah.
So follow us there so that you can get updated with that. Let us know. We've been considering getting a Twitter. Let us know if that's something that you think we should do. But yeah, that's kind of all I've got.
Yeah. Once we have our space back for a bit more of a consistent time, I think it's pretty much decided that we will be releasing audio platform for the podcast. So hopefully, if that's something that we've said that a lot of times.
We've said
but
that since the beginning.
We're actually ready now.
Yeah, we're ready for
so
it.
Once we're actually ready for it, once our space is secure and we're ready to be putting them out weekly, that is something you will be able to access. I think
and so
wherever you
not
get
only
your
can you
podcasts.
access that, but we know that a lot of people have had the issue of it's hard to watch on YouTube, especially video format. And so if you're in your car, you want to listen to it,
just listen
whatever
to it
it is,
whenever.
you'll be able to listen to it, whatever. And so with that, we hope that people will share it around and get it out there more. And we hope that'll help grow the platform.
Yeah.
And the last thing I was going to say is just that with all of our kind of reorganizing around with our areas, it's coming with big plans because we have big plans for our stuff, our content on this channel. And so stick with us because it's kind of the promise of good things to come. Comment and subscribe.
Goodbye. Oh, orange ice cream. Lisa made this like pasta stuff yesterday. Sorry, never mind.
Was pasta orange ice cream?
No, it reminded me of the
The pasta was ice
It
cream.
reminded me of the stuff I loved from Eastside Morris. That's all I wanted to say, and I loved it.